But let's move into the final segment. You know, I love doing this podcast. It's so much fun. But after doing a 4-hour live stream, I know I've mentioned it so many times, and doing this podcast, I'm ready to be done. I'm ready to go to bed. So let's wrap this up. And the final topic we have is why Michael Porter Jr. is the biggest steal in this draft. Now, some people might say steal and think that I mean he's going to be good. I have no idea if this kid's going to be good. I haven't seen him play basketball since March. I haven't seen him go up. Last game I saw was him going up against Florida State, and he didn't look good. He didn't show much. He looked hurt. And I'm very concerned and very intrigued to see what he's done since March to June and how much he's recovered. And we haven't seen him play. We've seen medicals be passed out, and teams, based on those medicals, based on what they saw, said nope 13 times. The Clippers had 2 picks, said nope on him twice. The Bulls, who was his preferred destination, said no with him on the board. That would have been the first place I thought he was going to go to. Said no with him on the board. There was so much talk leading up to the draft. Kings are thinking about taking Michael Porter Jr. at 2. Then the Hawks are thinking about taking him at 3. Well, why is it today that he comes out and says, Woj and Giovanni, whatever his name is, Jonathan Giovanni on Draft Express, who's now on ESPN, come out and say 10 or 12 is now Michael Porter Jr.'s range. What happens there? What happened was Sacramento and Atlanta were really questioning the, at least the medicals that they received, and they were trying to kick the interest and see what people thought on Michael Porter Jr. And if they didn't like what they saw on the medicals, but some other team did, and they were able to at least move down, get a guy like Trae Young or Marvin Bagley if they thought they were going to be available, and they knew that Michael Porter Jr. was going to be at 2, they would have gotten more assets, made a team pick Michael Porter Jr., and then get more assets. That's what I think those reports are trying to say. Those were smokescreens sent out by those front offices to try to, swindle a team into taking Michael Porter Jr., and they got the guy that they wanted, at least a little bit lower, either the Kings or the Hawks, and got future assets to do so. However, we clearly saw that none of those teams wanted to go up and take that risk. None of those teams wanted to try Michael Porter Jr. He almost fell out of the lottery. This was the number 1 player in high school last year, and he almost fell out of the lottery. And the only reason he didn't was because of the Denver Nuggets having the ability to take a risk. And that's the thing with the Nuggets, is they have the ability to say, Porter, you're benched. You're not playing this season. You are just going to sit. You're going to relax. You're going to recover. You're going to work. You're going to build up your strength. You're going to become a better player. You're going to be stronger. You're going to be quicker. You're going to be better. You're going to be faster. And you're going to help us next year. Because this team, the Nuggets team, they're already a playoff team. They already have a veteran. They already have Wilson Chandler playing the 3. They don't need him right now. Because you throw out Michael Porter Jr., he's not healthy. He gets injured. Boom. You just lost your first-round pick. So, and you lost him because you wanted to see how he's going to do. No. Make sure he can recover. Now, if he's able to recover, he's able to come back to the player that we think he can be, then the Nuggets got the biggest steal, not possibly in the NBA draft this year, possibly the biggest steal that a team has gotten in the past 10 years, and possibly, maybe, if he hits his max ceiling of what people think of Kevin Durant, possibly the biggest steal of all time. Because, people look at Jordan being the biggest steal of all time. He went 3rd. It's not a steal. It's just people doing bad scouting. People think of, again, Kevin Durant being a steal at 2. No, the Portland Trailblazers fucked up twice. Took Bowie and Greg Oden. And again, they missed out on 2 superstars. A steal is like Giannis Antetokounmpo. A steal is Kawhi Leonard. But Michael Porter Jr., if he hits that Kevin Durant level, that is the biggest steal in NBA history if it happens. Now, there's going to be a lot for him to take his injury and turn it into production, but he's also on a fantastic team. Because let's think about what Michael Porter Jr. needs. He needs space. He needs the ability to rise up and be what I think is going to be a stretch 4 in the NBA. I don't think he's going to be a 3 in the NBA. I don't think he's quick enough, especially based on what we saw in March. If that's who Michael Porter Jr. is at 75%, I don't think 100% is that much quicker. So I don't think he's a 3 in the NBA. Now, him 6'11", if he's got that speed, then 6'11", 3 that has that quickness, it's unstoppable. But I think he's a guy that's going to play the 4 because of his speed. But he has Nikola Jokic, who Denver seems very, very persistent in making sure that he is locked up long-term for Denver. Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Paul Millsap for the next couple of years. And they have a lot of young players that are pretty interesting on their team. I think Hernan Gomez is one of them. I think this Denver team is very well run as well. So with Porter, the thing that I think he needs is space. And Jamal Murray is one of the best shooters in the game right now. He's very young and upcoming, but next 3 years, we're going to be talking about him as being one of the best shooters in the NBA behind Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, etc. But he's got the makings of a guy that's going to dominate the league with his scoring abilities. He's going to provide space. He's going to provide athleticism. He's going to provide the ability to drive in and attack. Nikola Jokic, who's one of the best passing bigs in a while. I mean, this kid has highlight reel passing. Like, he's got Luka Doncic passes at 6'11". He's a guy that's going to be able to find Porter. He has guys who can create for him. And I think one thing that's going to really be tough for Porter Jr., at least to start in his career, will be creating for himself, because he's going to be worrisome about that back. He's going to be worrisome about dribbling in and then coming up for a pull-up and stopping on a dime and making sure he's able to take all that motion fluidly, go up and make sure he's going up with the right form and being able to rise over defenders. Now, he's going to be able to rise over defenders because of his height, but will he be able to do it quick enough where he's able to at least get over the defender's hands? Now, I don't think he'll be able to do that in his first year in the NBA, but if he's able to get playmakers like Jokic, like Jamal Murray, and even Gary Harris, who is a great shooter in his own right, who's set up by these great playmakers, Gary Harris can pass the ball out, kick it out, wide open. Michael Porter Jr., we've seen that he's a great scorer. And even then, if he has a full head of steam driving to the rim, that guy can throw it down. So in the half court, he's going to be a guy that is going to need playmakers. Now, if he's, if we're talking about him in transition, offensively, he's going to be a guy that's going to be hard to stop because of his length, because of his speed. Again, this is if he's healthy, and his ability to really attack the rim. Now, that's a lot of ifs, and all those ifs are based on health. And the reason he fell was clear. The Bulls were the one team that was able to at least get the first chance to really diagnose him, really have the doctors look at him, get his medical information, get his records. And they said no. This is a kid that clearly wanted to go to Chicago. And they said no. They passed upon him. And Michael Porter Jr. Pissed, and rightfully so, because I think his agent screwed him over by saying you should go into this draft, because if Porter Jr. had the ability to come in next year, take the first couple games off, and then go into Missouri and ball out as a sophomore, people would have taken him, no doubt, because we knew what he was. He was just injured. Now, if he's able to come back, go to Missouri, beat up on some college kids, I think this isn't a Miles Bridges situation where he falls out of the top 10. This is a situation where he jumps up into the top 10, especially with this draft class next year, because, RJ Barrett's something special, I think. But, Zion, who's, I think, third in high school, I'm not sold on that kid being an NBA pro. He's 6'7". I don't think he's quick enough to be a scorer in the NBA. Maybe he turns into like a Draymond, but I think very limited offensively. I don't want to get into the next draft class because we're still talking about the one that just happened. But the point is I think Michael Porter Jr. probably would have been best suited if he stayed back. But now Denver's getting the opportunity to take that risk because they're a playoff team. They don't really need that pick. Their idea in this draft, or at least the idea that people thought they were going to do, is take that Kenneth Faried contract, take that pick, pair them together so they have more contract and more money to give to Nikola Jokic. They didn't do that. They went and got Porter Jr., who can be a star in the NBA. Now, it's a long, massive gap. Porter Jr. might have the lowest floor in this draft because we don't know if he's healthy. We don't know what his health is like. And I don't even know if Denver's really at least sold on him being healthy. They just might be sold on that ceiling. And we look at the players that went after Michael Porter Jr., Troy Brown, 6'7". He's going to need time. He's going to need time to develop and become a great player. Zaire Smith, he's going to need time. He's going to need the possessions and the time to grow as a player. DiVincenzo, he's a fun story, but I don't think he's a star. He could be a starter, but he's not a star. Lonnie Walker has the ability to be a star, but maybe he's just going to be an offensive threat. Let's look at Kevin Huerter. Do you think he's a pro? I'm not sold on him being a pro. I didn't have him in my first 5 mocks for a reason. I don't think he's that good. He's 6'7", and people are calling him Klay Thompson light. Klay Thompson's quick. Thompson's athletic. Klay Thompson is a dynamic scorer. Huerter's fine. I don't think he's great. I'm not sold on him being a pro. Okogie, I liked. But Okogie, I don't think has that star potential because I think Okogie's max is a Jimmy Butler-like guard. Now, Michael Porter Jr.'s max is Kevin Durant. And that's a guy who's now putting himself in best player right now in the NBA discussion. He's a guy that's second best player for sure in the NBA behind LeBron James. He's a guy that might go down as one of the best scorers of all time. That's pretty good company to be in if you're, Michael Porter Jr. If you're a Kogi and you hit, Jimmy Butler, that's a nice pick there for Minnesota. He's a guy that's an all-star. Congrats to Kogi. But all-star is different than all-time great. Looking at Anthony Simmons, another project. I don't think he really fits a need either on this Denver team. Chandler Hutchison, I don't think he fits a need. I think, you get a 3 there. And that's, I think, a position that you need. But again, I think, Denver, they can find free agents. They can I think they can attract and bring people in, because with Jokic, with Jamal Murray, with Paul Millsap, they have a nice building and a nice team building up and brewing, especially with Gary Harris too. I think they can possibly go out and get a player through free agency to fill that 3. But Hutchison, I think is a bench scorer at best in the NBA. So the only guy with star potential from 14 down, like superstar potential, is Michael Porter Jr. And the Nuggets are going to be a playoff team this year with or without Michael Porter Jr. So my thing, it boils down to, this could be the biggest steal in NBA history, because this kid has no pressure on him now, because he was the 14th pick. He wasn't number 2 and now reliant and having the back and shoulder of Sacramento's worries and no NBA rings on his shoulders as the number 2 pick to produce. No, he has the Nuggets on his back, where Jamal Murray is probably ahead of him when it comes to, guys who are being looked down to produce. Nikola Jokic is about to get paid. He's going to be looked at a guy that needs to step up and be big. Denver needs, a star, and, Murray can be a star, Jokic can be a star, but Porter Jr. is a name already. Murray is a nice player who I think is going to be maybe an all-star at his best. Jokic, definitely going to be an all-star at his best. But superstar, Michael Porter Jr. has that in him. So it boils down to, again, Porter Jr. doesn't have the pressure because, again, they have stars on their team. I think they have 2 all-stars on their team already, and Jamal Murray and Jokic. So you don't have that load of having Denver's worrisome and troubles on him. And I think that he has time because this is a playoff team. They don't really need him to contribute right away. It'd be nice if he did, but they still have Wilson Chandler this year. And, once Chandler's contract is done, if they don't want to re-sign him, they just slide in Michael Porter Jr. And maybe he doesn't start right away, even for Denver, after sitting out a whole year. Maybe they bring him in off the bench and see how he does against second teamers, and then they work him into the starting lineup. But this Denver team has found talent consistently. This Denver team. I think I said Dallas, my bad. This Denver team has consistently found talent, and this Denver team is on the right track to building a future powerhouse in the Western Conference. And this is a team that's young. Gary Harris, young player. Jamal Murray, young player. Jokic, young player. I look at Porter Jr. He's just going to add to that youth, and he's, again, not a guy that's going to have a ton of pressure on him. He's going to be hidden in Denver. No offense, Denver. I mean, you're not a massive market like LA or New York or Chicago. You're a decently sized market, but, there's massive differences between New York, Chicago, or LA, or, et cetera, et cetera. I'm at least looking at the, the teams that we're going to pick them. Chicago at 7. Cleveland at 8, especially if LeBron stays. That's the biggest NBA market if LeBron does stay, because LeBron is the guy that draws the most media attention. Knicks, again, massive media market. Philly as well. I mean, Philly drew a ton of attention. So I look at, Denver as being the right spot for Michael Porter Jr. to have the most success. So found the Nuggets, and I'm a Nuggets fan. I'm really pumped that Michael Porter Jr. landed to me, and I think Michael Porter Jr. can be the steal of a century. He could be. I'm not saying he will be, but he could be the steal of a century with the, kind of landing spot he did. He doesn't have a ton of pressure on him. He's going to be on a team that's going to be good. He doesn't need to be a number 1 option right away, but he has that potential to be a number 1 option right away. And he has the time to get healthy before he steps into an NBA game. So, again, Michael Porter Jr., with his back injuries, with his, worries at his position, I think that's the best spot for him. I'm honestly probably glad, too, that if I'm a team, 13 teams that passed on him, kind of glad I passed on him, too, because I think it's big warning signs of Chicago passed on him 7, and the Clippers passed him at, twice at 11 and 12. Well, I guess it was 11 and 13 now with the trade. But with their ability to take him twice and they passed on him, I think that's a big warning sign. So especially with those 2 teams in Sacramento and Atlanta trying to trade, try to get teams to take up and get him. I think, again, I'd be glad as a 13 teams ahead of him that passed on him. But Denver, I think you should be throwing a party in the streets, because you're a playoff team with or without Michael Porter Jr. And if he's healthy and a star, and he's able to at least contribute to your team, even at worst as a 6'11", stretch 4, coming off your bench in playoff runs, it's gonna be something that's gonna help you win playoff games. So Denver, has the ability to have the steal of the century in Michael Porter Jr. There's no other way around it. Those are my thoughts about the Denver Nuggets picking Michael Porter Jr. at 14. Those are my thoughts on the 2018 NBA Draft. If you have any questions, hit me up, Most Valuable Pod on Twitter. We'll have Ricky. We'll have Dave. We'll probably have more thoughts about the 2018 NBA Draft as the season unfolds. We are now in the off season. I know the NBA Draft technically is the off season, but now I can finally relax. We'll be doing our rankings. We'll be doing free agency. That's probably the last hectic time, but after free agency is done, you can finally take a deep breath and relax. We hope you've enjoyed our NBA Draft coverage. This camera might die on me in any second, so if I go away, that's why. But you guys have had us, have helped us have two of our best months in the past 2 months. I mean, the past 2 months, June of this year and May of this year, have been our best 2 months. And I got to thank you guys for that. I mean, if it wasn't for you, well, all of our patrons, all of the people that watched our videos, we had 30K views on that mock draft 6.0. I know you guys shit on us for all those trades, but we had fun with it. We had such a blast. And that was 30K in 3 days. You guys really helped us explode. We're at 12,000. We're still growing. We appreciate all of your support. For everyone who showed up in the live stream, I got to throw out a name. Hold on. I got time too. So all you people on Block Talk Radio, I'm sorry. I got to throw out a name though, because he kept telling me to shout him out. Oh man, what's his name? Oh man. There's a guy in the live stream that told me he wanted to shout out his name because he called the MPJ pick. Oh my God, dude. That was so long. No, it wasn't. Oh my God, what's his name? I think you know who I'm talking about. Whoever you are, I'm so sorry. Today has been the longest day of my life. I've recorded 4 hours of podcasts, so this is probably the worst ending ever. But shout out to you, dude. I am so sorry I forgot your name because I can't pull up the live stream. You know what? I actually might be able to do it. I'm still going to do this. I know this is horrible. I like the Michael Porter Jr. Cartel Clark. Shout out to you, my dude. That's going to do it for the NBA post-draft podcast. Shout out to everybody who's helped us over the past 2 months. I'm going to end this train wreck of a podcast. I can't wait for Ricky and Dave to come back. Shout out to my dude Cartel Clark for calling the MPJ pick. If you want to help support us on Patreon, please do patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Don't forget to check out mostvaluablepodcast.com and our store and the t-shirts. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at mostvaluablepod. And don't forget to rate us 5 stars on iTunes as well. Check out the fast break on blogtalkradio.com. I'm going to end this train wreck. I'm Sean Anderson. I'll see you next time. Hopefully.